Every evening, as darkness falls, you'll reach for a switch without a second thought. Instantly, your room blazes with light. It's effortless, automatic, unremarkable, yet for virtually all of human existence, that moment was impossible. When the sun disappeared, so did the world. Darkness wasn't just inconvenient, it was absolute, total, the kind of dark where you couldn't see your own fingers inches from your eyes. Modern people almost never encounter that kind of darkness anymore, but for more than 300,000 years, every person who came before you spent roughly half their life inside it. No candles, no lanterns, just an open sky full of stars, a dwindling fire, and the sounds of the night pressing in around them. So what did they actually do with all those hours? The answer reshapes everything we think we understand about sleep, about culture, about what makes us human. It starts with fire. The oldest confirmed evidence of humans deliberately controlling fire comes from the Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, dating back about 1 million years. But fire wasn't just a heat source. It fundamentally reorganized how our ancestors experienced time itself. Before fire, early humans behaved like every other primate after dark. When the light faded, you found somewhere safe. A tree, a cave, a sheltered hollow, and you didn't move until morning. Nighttime movement was a death sentence. Human eyes are poorly adapted to darkness compared to the animals that hunted us. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, they could navigate the dark with ease. We couldn't. Fire changed that calculation completely. A campfire throws out a protective circle of light roughly 30 feet across. Inside it, predators stay away. Outside it, your prey. Anthropologists studying present-day hunter-gatherer communities have documented that people who stray from the fire at night face dramatically higher risks of predator attacks. Even now, in the modern world, the danger was, and in some places still is, very real. But fire gave humans something even more transformative than safety. It gave them time. Before fire, the productive day ended when the sun set. In summer, that's about 12 usable hours. In winter, sometimes as few as 8. Fire pushed that boundary back by 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours every single night. And across thousands of generations, those extra hours quietly rewired our species. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Weissner released a landmark study through the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She had spent years documenting conversations among the Juhontsi Bushmen of the Kalahari, one of the few remaining communities still living in a way that echoes humanity's original lifestyle. Her findings were remarkable. During daylight hours, roughly 80% of all conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ripening? Disputes, plans, logistics. Daytime talk was essentially work. But once the sun set and fire was lit, everything shifted. Around 81% of nighttime conversations were stories, tales of distant people and places, myths about the origins of the world, legends, jokes, memories. The campfire transformed conversation from utility into something else entirely. Weissner's argument was bold. Firelight is where human culture was invented. The campfire was the first stage, the first school, the first place of worship. It's where we learn to think beyond the immediate moment, to imagine futures, other lives, things that had never existed. It's where we became, in the deepest sense, human. But stories around the fire were only part of what the night held. Something else was happening after dark, something that scientists only began to understand in the last few decades. You were not built to sleep the way you sleep tonight. In 2001, historian Roger Eckert released research that shook the field of sleep science. Over 16 years, he had combed through thousands of historical documents, prayer manuals from the 1400s, court transcripts, personal diaries, medical literature, ordinary letters, even passages in Homer's Odyssey. Across all of them, he found the same recurring reference: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial era, people did not sleep in a single, unbroken stretch. They went to bed shortly after nightfall, slept for roughly 4 hours, then woke up naturally. They remained awake for an hour or two in the middle of the night, alert, calm, and present, before drifting back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't a sleep disorder. This was standard human experience across centuries and cultures. What did people do during that middle-of-the-night waking period? A surprising range of things. A 16th century French physician suggested it was the ideal time for couples to conceive children, claiming the body performed better then. People visited with neighbors. They sat quietly and reflected on their dreams while they were still vivid. They wrote. They prayed. They simply lay still in the darkness and let their minds wander. A medical text from the 1500s described this interval, called the watch, as the finest time for deep thought and reflection, when the world was silent and the mind was usually clear. Historians had been encountering these references for generations without recognizing their significance. The concept of two separate sleep periods was so foreign to modern experience that translators had simply adjusted ancient Greek and medieval Latin texts to match contemporary expectations, essentially erasing the evidence in front of them. Then science stepped in to confirm what history had been quietly recording all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Weir at the National Institute of Mental Health conducted a striking experiment. He took a group of volunteers and stripped artificial light entirely from their evenings. For a full month, they experienced 14 hours of darkness each night, the same conditions our ancestors would have lived with before firelight extended their evenings. Within a few weeks, without any instruction or suggestion, every participant fell into the same pattern. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of peaceful wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. No one designed this. No one encouraged it. Their bodies simply remembered. When Weir analyzed their hormone levels during the wakeful interval, he found something unexpected. The participants were not in a normal waking state. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone associated with meditation and deep relaxation. The volunteers described the experience as serene, inward, almost trance-like. It wasn't simply an interruption in sleep. It was its own unique form of consciousness, one that the overwhelming majority of people alive today have never experienced. So what erased it? Light. In the 1600s, European cities began lighting their streets. Paris was among the first, under Louis XIV, who wanted to make the city safer after dark. London followed. Gradually, the night became less threatening, more navigable. Candles became cheaper and more available. Gas lamps arrived in the 1800s. Then, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb, and within a single generation, the night that humanity had inhabited for 300,000 years effectively ceased to exist. Here's something worth noting. The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu, literally, cover the fire. In medieval towns, a nightly bell would signal residents to extinguish or cover their flames, not merely for fire safety, but because darkness was the natural state of night. Night was for sleeping, for vulnerability, for stillness. Being out after dark without a light source was legally suspicious in many medieval European cities. The night belonged to criminals and spirits. People feared it with an intensity we can barely imagine now. And then we defeated it. We drowned it in light and called it progress. But consider what we surrendered in the process. The average modern person is exposed to artificial light 7 to 8 hours past sunset. That light, particularly the blue spectrum light emitted by screens, suppresses melatonin production, the hormone that governs sleep. Your brain cannot distinguish between a light bulb and the midday sun. When light reaches your eyes at 11 at night, your body interprets it as daytime. Melatonin is delayed. Sleep is fragmented. The circadian rhythm that evolved over millions of years is quietly disrupted every single evening. Research has shown that spending just 1 week camping without any artificial light is enough to shift a person's melatonin cycle by nearly 2 hours. The body begins releasing melatonin at sunset rather than long after it. 1 week. That's all it takes for hundreds of thousands of years of biological programming to reassert itself. We didn't simply change our sleep schedule. We erased an entire layer of human experience. That quiet, contemplative state between first and second sleep, the one Weir subjects described as peaceful and almost meditative, no longer exists for most people. In its place, we have what we call insomnia, and we treat it as a malfunction. But what if it isn't? What if waking at 2 in the morning and lying there in the dark isn't your body breaking down, but your body reaching back for something it was designed to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors moved through the night in a rhythm that modern science is only beginning to map. They sat around fires and told stories that seeded civilizations. They slept in 2 phases, with a still and reflective interlude between them. They lived under darkness so total and complete that the Milky Way wasn't a destination, it was just the sky above them every night. And in those quiet hours between one sleep and the next, they lay in the dark and thought about their dreams, about their lives, about the world they would step back into when morning came. We gave all of that up for a light switch, and most of us never even noticed it was gone.